Ụtụtụ ọma, nakwana, ekaro. Welcome to Folk Tales, Languages and History. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing. This will help us to make more interesting stories just like the one you just clicked on. Lara woke up suddenly with a start, sweat all over her body. Oh yes, it was just a nightmare, although she had never expected to have one of such just 3 weeks to her wedding. In her dream, Emeka, her fiancé, had in his arms another woman wearing the same wedding gown in the same hall with everything designed just as Lara had pictured. But this time, Lara was a guest at her wedding. Not just that, she was also sweeping the wedding hall. Everywhere looked strange, and Lara turned around to ask anybody she could find what was really going on. Everyone ignored her and focused their attention on the stage, congratulating the newlyweds and showering them with all kinds of gifts and money. Lara tried to identify the face of the woman, but she had her back turned to Lara, and no matter what she did, she could not see the face of this woman. In her dream, Lara began to cry. She broke down and wept bitterly, but no one paid her any attention. Suddenly, she woke up. Lara was glad it was just a dream. She threw away the blanket and ran into the bathroom to wash her face. Why should she have this kind of dream at this time? Was Emeka going to marry someone else? Was she going to be a guest at her own wedding, going to end up cleaning the hall for the newlyweds at the same venue she had chosen for her wedding? This was all too strange for Lara, but she remembered that the pastor had asked both of them to pray and fast for 7 days before their wedding, so that everything would go on well. Lara also remembered her aunt, Mommy Ken, who gave her the news from the Alpha she went to visit, a Muslim cleric who insisted that Lara should have a low-key wedding and should do it privately without inviting her friends. Lara was confused. Who should she listen to? She quickly dialed Emeka's number and narrated everything to him. Emeka laughed and dismissed all her fears. Of course, they were just pre-wedding jitters, and he tried to put his fiancée's heart at rest, telling her that there was nothing they could do about the wedding arrangements. He worked in a high-end environment and was a senior executive, and one of the perks of his position was to get his wedding sponsored by the company, from the food to the decorations and even to the venue. Everything had been paid for. The company had booked the biggest hotel in Abuja for the event, and of course they could not turn it down except they wanted to cancel the wedding, which was not an option at this time. Patricia, Lara's best friend, also known as Trish, had organized the bridal shower for her best friend, and of course not leaving out Rachel and Madonna, also close friends of Lara since high school. The bridal shower was one to talk about for a very long time. At the bridal shower, they had to play a game. You have to tell everyone what you did with your one true love, and when it got to Trish's turn, she had nothing to say. Trish had never had the one true love. She felt embarrassed that this had to be done on a day that she had organized for Lara, and Lara had to be the one to draw up that question on the list of activities for the bridal shower. Trish struggled to keep back the tears in her eyes while smiling with some embarrassment. She admitted that she had no special someone in her life, and everyone should leave her alone. Soon the flurry of activities for the bridal shower began. The question Lara asked Trish had stung her like a bee. Embarrassment mixed with shame Anger and jealousy began to spring from somewhere in Trish's heart. Trish was the wild one between both friends, while Lara was quiet, brilliant, and always liked to be at the background. As the saying goes, opposites attract, and that was it for both friends. Trish partied and frolicked with every handsome man she met, while Lara remained the shy, tactful one, always giving bits of warning and advice to Trish. As a result, Trish never had anything serious. She had even had a couple of abortions in the past after some wild activities and groupies. Looking at Lara now, Trish could see that she made the better choice. Green bile swelled up in her as she helped to pack up after the event. Everyone wished Lara a wonderful married life, kissing her on both cheeks while leaving. Same with Trish. She wasn't going to let her emotions betray her. 30 minutes later, Trish laid in her bed, looking up at the ceiling and weeping silently. Why should Lara have the last laugh? Emeka was a typical ladies' man. Tall, suave, handsome, and financially stable. Trish had tried to find true love, but she had never had the patience to cultivate a relationship like Lara. Moreover, she had a bad taste in men. Come what may, Lara should not have insulted her with such an embarrassing question in front of everyone. She decided to take revenge. A revenge that will ruin it all for everyone. She decided to take Emeka. Emeka had never been this nervous before about anything. Yes, he was sure Lara was the one for him, but why was he so nervous? Well, Lara had mentioned that dream again, seeing herself as a guest in her wedding, washing the dishes and cleaning up in her own wedding gown, while he was marrying another woman whose face she could not identify. He combed through his mind to know if there was anyone he still had interest in apart from Lara, but there was no one. All others were exes he had forgotten about. This wedding was going to hold no matter what the devil said. He and Lara had commenced a 7-day fast as directed by the pastor after their marriage course. Lara was the one for him. Trish stood before the mirror looking at her body and her beautiful curves. She still had the magic all men fell for. Lara was just a simple, plain girl, not the sophisticated beauty like Trish. She sat down and swiped through the hot, stunning styles for bridesmaids she saw on the Ovation wedding website. No, she will dress to kill. She had to get Emeka's attention even before the wedding. In her wardrobe was a beautiful red velvet gown she had just bought a week back. That would do the trick. She had to fix something to enable her meet Emeka soon. Yes, finally she got it. If she could somehow find a way to make Lara so busy, she could take up extra tasks that could make Emeka and her spend more time together prepping for the wedding. But what if Lara could fall sick? A wicked and evil smile crossed her beautiful face. Lara can be sick, temporarily sick. She had done this before in high school, when she made the most hated teacher, Mrs. Grace, temporarily sick before the exam. Arsenic poisoning was one that killed slowly, allowing the victim bouts of health in between. Its victims will be sick, but once the poisoning stops, they will regain their health again like a miracle. She planned to use this chemical to put Lara down, at least just before the wedding. 5 days to the wedding. Lara had come to stay with Trish so they could work on everything together. The other bridesmaids met on periodic intervals at Trish's house just to put finishing touches to everything. Lara's parents had passed long ago while she was a child, and Trish was her only close friend who she could call a sister. Trish had used the opportunity to poison Lara's morning tea daily, so of course she had begun to fall sick, experiencing bouts of dizziness and weakness which everyone attributed to pre-wedding jitters or maybe stress. Even the doctors could not find anything wrong with her because arsenic poisoning could not be traced in the blood or other bodily fluids. Trish had to do everything henceforth. Both Emeka and Trish spent a lot of time together, mostly outdoors, planning and shopping for everything with other family members. Lara was happy. She had someone to count on. Trish made sure Emeka's eyes never left her for a second. Her tight, brightly colored dresses had given out all the signals. At some point, Emeka's mom began looking uncomfortable. She called Lara aside and asked her who Trish really was. Lara was surprised but gave her would-be mother-in-law the usual answer. Trish was her best friend. Emeka's mother sighed and walked back into her bedroom. 4 days to the wedding. Trish had stopped putting arsenic poisoning in Lara's food and water, so she could at least get well for the event. After 2 days, Lara began to feel much better and was able to go to the tailor's for a dress fitting. If anything, the sickness had made her lose some inches around her waistline, which to her was good as she could now fit snugly into her wedding gown. A day before, 5 a.m. Emeka quickly zipped up his trousers as his phone rang at the sitting room. He couldn't believe what he had just gotten himself into. The woman beside him rolled over and greeted him with a warm good morning. His eyes could not be deceiving him. Trish was the one in his bed. She had somehow found a way to finally lure him to bed with her. He felt so guilty for betraying his fiancée. Quickly, he asked her to dress up and leave as he picked up his phone. He was required to be at work at 6 a.m. from the call he received from his boss, and that was a perfect excuse to let Trish out. Trish was hoping this could be it. Emeka could finally call off the wedding. But of course, the plan failed. He couldn't even look her in the eyes. He dropped her off at her flat and drove off quickly. This was not over yet. She still had one more stone to throw at Lara's beautiful glass house. The wedding day. Lara was the center of all attention. All the invitees had turned up. The hall was beautifully decorated and everyone held their breath to listen to the two lovebirds exchange their marital vows. Emeka looked into Lara's eyes as he finished his vow. She looked so innocent and angelic. At that moment, nothing and no one else in the world mattered as he kissed her. Lara heaved a sigh of relief. She was the bride at her wedding and not a guest like she saw in her dream. Everything was over. For Trish, this was just the beginning. She smiled an evil smile of triumph. 2 weeks after the wedding, Emeka had been acting strangely. For some reason, he always hid his phone and had lots of calls. He was restless. Lara had asked him countless times if there was a problem at work, but he always told her not to worry as he was handling everything. Trish had called Emeka several times. Emeka opened his WhatsApp message and saw the test results she sent. A pregnancy? For who? How did this happen? This was not the end. Trish came to his office. She came to his office and informed the director of his department that Emeka had raped her and gotten her pregnant. Emeka was refusing to take responsibility for the child. Emeka had rushed home immediately to reach Lara before Trish did. When he got to his house, he saw the tear-filled eyes of Lara and he knew it was too late. Lara was already on the phone with Trish. Trish laughed at her wickedly, telling her how stupid she had been for trusting herself and her husband. Lara had even been with her on her wedding night. Emeka had been with Trish all through a day before the wedding to have a last romp with Trish before saying I do. She had informed Lara that she would make her marriage a living hell. She also informed her that she was not pregnant, neither had she ever been pregnant for Emeka, as she claimed. But she did everything because she hated Lara for embarrassing her and Emeka for dumping her. She vowed to make him pay with their marriage. Lara was heartbroken. She refused to speak to Emeka. Even 2 days after this, he had been suspended from work because of the announcement made by Trish and was at home with Lara, doing nothing but pleading with his wife. Emeka's mom had heard everything from him and came immediately to visit the couple. This time, she hoped Lara would listen to her. She called Lara to her side, consoling her. Lara was like a child to her, gentle and kind, and she never would have preferred anyone else for her only son. Marriage is a gift, she said, and should be treasured wisely. Many women would come in and try to destroy what they can never have. It was time to get to work and put the snake at bay. Lara, with tears in her eyes, agreed with Mama. She was willing to forgive him but wished he had told her earlier when the blackmailing started. Trish had gotten a lawyer and was going to sue Emeka for rape and neglect. She had cooked up the whole details so well and was sure Emeka would lose everything to her. Lara and Emeka invited Trish and a lawyer for dinner. They also came with their own lawyer 2 days after. Trish honored it, hoping to gloat at the now disappointed friend she used to have. At the table, Lara played the audio recording of the call Trish had with her. Trish never knew that Lara had been recording their conversation on the day she made the confession, trying to gloat at her friend. There she confessed to setting up everything to ruin Lara's marriage. This was a devastating blow for Trish, and her lawyer rolled his eyes in disappointment. Trish got up, screaming and threatening to ruin them both. This time, it was Lara who replied that they would be suing for blackmail and other charges. Lara's lawyer pulled her away, and they walked away in shame. Lara turned to hug Emeka. Emeka knelt down with tears in his eyes, apologizing to Lara for all the pains he had caused her. The two lovebirds hugged, made promises to each other, never to betray one another again.